Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Hey, how you doing, McGraw? Good to be back with you.
You got it. Your book is The Way Forward, and it's called Renewing the American Idea. The last time you were on the show a couple weeks ago, I asked you one very important question, and before I could answer it, you said Brewers.
Yeah, I know. And
yeah, so what happened?
Okay. You're going to throw that back at me now, aren't you? I figured you would.
Well, you know.
I'll say Packers now. How's that?
Okay, Packers. All right, fair enough. There you go. At least you're not saying L.A. Kings or something like that, so there you go. So it's been a little bit of a controversy between now and the last time you were on the book. This has to be some kind of misprint. You're actually backing Governor Obama's policy on the bombing in Syria?
Yeah, what I said is I'm glad he's changed his position on ISIS and that he's going after ISIS. I'm glad he's going into Syria after ISIS because that's where they come from. And so that was a step in the right direction with the president. What happens when you do these interviews, and not this one, talk radio, but you get taken out of context. Before that, I said he made a colossal mistake in Iraq by not getting a status of forces agreement. He made a colossal mistake in Syria, which gave rise to ISIS in the first place. But now at least he's changing his policy by going after them. My fear going forward is that he's going to nickel and dime and micromanage the military. And whatever you do, you never take options off the table. You never project or telegraph to your enemy what you will not do. And that is my concern with his policy going forward. But yes, I am glad he is stepping up and going after ISIS because this is a threat to us. Thousands of foreign fighters with foreign passports. We either fight them there where they are or we fight them here.
Isn't it true that President Bush signed that treaty with Iraq to get all the troops out?
No. The status of forces agreement, no, that's not the case. The status of forces agreement is something that was being negotiated by the Obama administration, the vice president in particular, with the Iraqis. The president kept shrinking the number of troops that the military was asking for. The military asked for a number in the area of 10 to 15,000. He kept knocking that number down to about 5,000, then insisted that the Iraqi legislature approve it. When it got knocked down to 5,000, they thought that was so minuscule, what's the bother? And then when you ask the Iraqi legislature to approve it, you're all but guaranteeing it's not going to happen. We have a status of forces agreement right now because we have advisors in there, and that didn't go through the Iraqi legislature. So the point I've been making is I think the president could have gotten a status of forces agreement if he granted the military what it is that they thought was necessary to help keep the Iraqi army together, to keep our gains secured, and to have the kind of footprint we need to have the lasting relationship that we could have had. And therefore, it would have been much easier to secure Iraq. And this isn't our troops in the front lines doing the fighting. It's our troops embedded with the Iraqis, helping make sure that they are strong and that they are organized. I think he's made a similar mistake in Syria, which is he could have supported the moderates early on in the crisis when it was really easy to determine the bad guys from the good guys. Then he didn't do that. Then when his red line was crossed, he didn't do anything about it. He played politics, in my judgment, with that decision. And as a result, our enemies see weakness. Our enemies see that we're withdrawing. That creates a vacuum, and that has been filled. So I'm glad he is now going after ISIS, but I think he made a lot of mistakes that got us to this point.
Paul Ryan, our guest, his book, The Way Forward, getting a lot more sales on Amazon now that you can find it. How about that controversy?
Yeah, I mean, I won't get into all of that, but yeah, you couldn't find it for a little while at the beginning, and it's because of this dispute Amazon has with some publishers.
Yeah, but now it's there and doing well. The book is The Way Forward. So they say they don't want troops on the ground, and then the other side says, well, we already have troops on the ground. What are you talking about? We have advisors there, and but we don't want troops, but we do want troops. What is going on?
Commander-in-chiefs need to do the job and do the mission, and don't tell your enemies what you will or will not do. I fear he's doing this for domestic political consumption. I fear he's doing this because of his own rigid ideology, and that is not, to me, the proper conduct of a commander-in-chief. So if the military says this is what we need to do the job, then you let them do their jobs. And more importantly, if you're not going to do it, don't tell the enemy you're not going to do it. There are a lot of cases in which the military, and I've watched this by going to Afghanistan and Iraq, where you need people on the ground to help coordinate your air campaign. You need special forces to embed themselves with your allies to help make sure that they're more effective, to coordinate air. There are a lot of reasons why the military thinks that we need to have some of our soldiers some of our airmen embedded so that we can better project our force, better coordinate our air campaign, and for the president to summarily just play armchair general and say no before we know what we need to do to finish off ISIS. And by the way, this is going to take time. This is not a 6-month, 1-2 year problem. This is a generational fight, and we need to show that we have the strength and resolve to see it through so that we can not only demoralize ISIS and prevent them from getting more recruits, but so that we can see it through so that we're fighting them there and not here.
Would you be in favor of putting U.S. troops on the ground in Syria?
I'm in favor of doing what it takes to win this. I'm in favor of giving the military the ability to do what they say and believe needs to be done to win.
Including troops
Whatever
if they
that,
need it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not General Dempsey, and I don't want to play General Dempsey. I want to give our generals the ability to do what they think they need to do to finish the job. And, oh, by the way, when they ask for troop numbers, I've seen the president do this in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Let them have what they think they need to do it as safely as possible. Because when you shrink the footprint of your soldiers, you sometimes leave those that you are putting into harm's way more vulnerable by not giving them the kind of support that they need. And so that is why I worry the president is making sort of LBJ-like mistakes, like LBJ made in Vietnam, by micromanaging and nickel and diming the military when they're in harm's way.
Are you worried that the arms that we give to the moderates are going to end up in the bad guys' hands?
Well, again, if you have your special forces or your people embedded working with them, then you can better guarantee that it doesn't happen. But I do believe we need to arm the Free Syrian Army. I thought this for quite some time ago because there was a point in time where you could well vet who they are and what they're trying to do. I think the president missed a critical window of opportunity. Hopefully it's not too late to get that right. But again, having your people on the ground with them, not an entire division. We're not talking about 100,000 soldiers. We're talking about special forces teams. This is usually what the military recommends. Making sure that the right thing is happening, making sure that we're leveraging their fighting as well as possible.
Paul Ryan, our guest, Congressman Paul Ryan, former presidential candidate. His new book is The Way Forward. 2 more quick questions for you. If the Senate goes Republican, do you see more getting done with the president than if it stays in the Democratic hands the next 2 years?
It can't get any worse than it is right now. Yeah, I do. I mean, we got about 381 bills that we passed out of the House, many of which were bipartisan, sitting in the Senate going nowhere because of Harry Reid. Harry Reid has single-handedly prevented the president from having to make any decision, from having to come to the bargaining table. We get the Senate, that's going to change. We get the Senate, he's going to have Keystone Pipeline on his desk. He's going to have a lot of bills hitting his desk where he's either going to have to make a decision or come to the bargaining table. And when that happens, more gets done.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you about your presidential ambitions because you're still debating it and you're not going to tell me. However, there are some rumors going around that Mitt Romney might be back in the game. Have you talked to your former running mate?
I have. We know each other extremely well. We communicate, and he's been saying very clearly, publicly and privately, look, it's somebody else's turn. I had my go at it. I want to make sure that the best person who can win runs and wins. And so he's been saying that. I think what's happening is there are a lot of people who are saying, you know what, Mitt would have been a better president. He predicted a lot of these problems, and there's a little bit of buyer's remorse. But for 240,000 voters or votes in 4 states, we would have won. So it was a close election. And I think for those reasons why you're hearing some of this talk, but Mitt's been pretty clear about this.
All right. Paul Ryan, The Way Forward, renewing the American idea. Paul Ryan, best of luck, and I'll listen to you politics-wise, but not baseball-wise. I don't know what you're thinking about with that Brewers pick.
Football, how about you going to go with me on that?
I'll go with the Packers. Way to go out on a limb with the Packers. Yeah, there you go. All right.
Thanks, man.
All right. Congressman Paul Ryan here. The Way Forward is his book, 950 KTRS, Big 550 KTRS. There is a new